Hello my friends, it's Olivio, the guy behind all of the tutorials on this channel, and you're gonna see a lot more of my face in the future. But today I want to talk about two free giveaways that you're getting. The first one is a 1-hour lecture or course on portrait editing in Affinity Photo. It's done by Jeremy, a friend of mine. He decided to give it away for free because he and we are doing a course together on Udemy and Skillshare. It's about 4 to 5 hours long about photo compositions, and it was really important that you see his quality and how he lectures. So check this out. There's a sneak peek right behind this introduction as a video before you even download anything. And the second giveaway is a free brush set that I created for you. I wanted to create really easy to use brushes that are fun to spice up your pictures. So check that out. They will drop tomorrow. But right now it's time to check out Jeremy's work. Let's get started.
So the first thing I like to do when I edit a portrait is I like to come in with my healing tools and get some stuff kind of squared away. Now, we're going to come in just a little bit closer here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down to the healing brush. Now, with the healing brush, it's right here. You're going to Alt-click in an area that you want to copy. And then you're just going to click it down. You see how we were able to get that done? Same thing here. If you wanted to remove this, you could drop the size of your brush, Alt-click, and paint that in. Alt-click, increase the size of the brush with the right bracket key, and paint that in. Now, thankfully, due to Bryson's rugged good looks here, we don't have a lot of this to do. So we're in pretty good shape, but let's go ahead and do this part here. We're going to go up to here. We're going to grab the Alt-click, and then I'm going to drop my brush size, and I'm going to do that. Now, if you wanted to, and it was really mission critical, you could come up to the context toolbar and drop the hardness. Oh, that didn't quite match. There we go. All right, dropping the hardness on the brush makes for a less hard brush around the edges. So I would never advocate that you cover up all the distinguishing features, right? There are things that make individuals individuals. So you want to make sure that you do enough to make the image pleasing, but not so much that it becomes so non-identifiable that you don't know who it is. Now this little bump right here, we're going to come in again here. We're going to come up to here. We're going to Alt-click, and we're just going to mask that out. Perfect. And the only reason I did that bump is because it's super bright over there. All right. I think I'm in pretty good shape. I think I'm relatively happy with that. Now, the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to do what's called a frequency separation. But before we do, let's come over here. Let's duplicate this layer. And now we're going to call this modifiable. All right, perfect. So you see we came over to layers, we duplicated the layer, and now you see the little lock here. All right, you want to make sure that lock is on because what you want to do, we want to work non-destructively and be super smart. So we never, ever, ever want to modify the original. We want to modify the modifiable. I know that's rocket science, but I had to say it. All right, so once we get the modifiable in place, as soon as I said we're going to work non-destructively, I'm going to now show you how to use a destructive filter. We're going to come up to the filters and we're going to choose frequency separation. Now, what frequency separation does, it separates the detail from the underlying tones. Now, watch what happens. Now, I'm sure what just happened to my picture, right? Make sure your modifiable was selected. Now, if you adjust the slider for radius, watch what happens. More and more and more of the detail is pulled into what is called a high frequency, and look at how blurred out and crappy that looks. So if you were to do this, it would absolutely be awful. This is what you'd be left with as tones. We don't want that. You want to find a nice balance of detail versus the softness, because you don't want it to be too soft underneath. But you see here, I don't have anything in the gray, and this looks really, really high clarity. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shift this up just a little bit until I got a little bit in the detail, because the beard is very important. That's a quintessential feature of this portrait. And I've got some sort of blur over here. So I'm happy right at about 2.7 pixels. And I'm going to go ahead and kick it up to 3 just to be on the safe side. Okay, so I go to 3 pixels and I go ahead and I hit apply. Now watch the layers area. All right, now what just happened? It moved it into a high frequency layer and a low frequency layer. You see how one became 2? That's why we duplicated. That's destructive. You're never going to get your copy back. Now, watch what happens when I turn off the high. You see the subtle adjustment in the clarity. Let me zoom in. So this is our image with the high frequency on. That's our image with the high frequency off. And you see how this allows us to be able to paint and adjust, dodge and burn without having to worry about the detail. Now let's turn the low frequency off. And you see how granular, grainy, and gritty that is. So the low frequency's off. I got a whole bunch of clarity, which is really cool. But yet, that's almost too granular. So it's a fine balance we're walking. All right, so that's what frequency separation is. And now what I want to do, I want to start knocking down some of these overexposed areas. And so I really want to begin now doing what I call dodge and burn globally, right? There's going to be some contouring that's involved, but right now I just want to do the global. So when I think about this, the light is striking from this way, and now I'm going to come down to my dodge and burn tools. Now, if you're not familiar with what these tools are, a dodge tool takes something that's a little bit darker and it makes it a little bit lighter. And a burn tool takes something that's a little bit lighter and it darkens it. So burning darkens, dodge lightens. Okay, and we're going to apply both of these tools to the low frequency layer. So make sure you're in the low frequency layer. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just turn the high frequency layer off, because I think it helps me quite a bit do the global here when we do this part. And I'm going to be looking for highlights. Now, here's the trick. If you go to the low frequency layer and you come up to the adjustment layer, you can make this thing black and white. Okay, so we're going to apply a black and white adjustment, and I'm going to apply a levels adjustment. I'm going to crush the blacks in, and I'm going to keep the whites right about there, give or take. Okay, now, what am I doing with this, right? You're going, where are you really going with this? Take a look at how the image begins to balance. I've got overexposure here, and I've got underexposure here. So really, these are the areas under black and white magnification with the levels adjustment where I want to apply. Now, this area here, right, where the nose is not differentiated from the face, I'm probably going to want to darken that. So I'm going to want to burn it. And I'm going to want to lighten some of these areas as we get across this area of the face here. You see where the hair meets the face? So let's go ahead and delete the levels. Delete the black and white. All right, and let's get to work. So I'm on the low frequency. I grab my burn tool. Now, I'm going to go ahead here, and I'm going to swipe in like this. And now, with my burn tool selected, you'll see that even here, the little burn area, you see how as I move over, it's darkening. We're going to come up here to the head. Now, all brushes have some opacity. So let's go ahead and make this 100%. And let's turn the flow down to next to nothing. Now, the flow is how much of whatever this is comes out every time I click. So you'll see now with the flow down, I hardly get any burn at all. If I turn the flow all the way up, you see here, I would be very, very dark. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. I want to be right about 15% or so. Okay. Now I'm on my low frequency, and you see how I'm beginning to knock this down. Now, you want to make sure your brush is super soft. And you don't want to do too much. So, did that knock it down a little bit? Absolutely. Let's go back to my burn tool. Coming over here. Dropping that down. I'm going to target that cheek area. Did that knock it down a little bit? Absolutely. There was 2 mouse clicks there. That's it. Down here. Left bracket key to bracket down. And what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do a little more contrast here on that side of the face. All right. Now, let's go ahead and zoom on out here. Let's see what we got. So, we darken out the areas that we got a little bit too overzealous on. I left this area right here because I really wanted differentiation when I looked at my blacks between the nose and this cheek. And that was kind of doing this. Now, the low frequency area. Let's go ahead and dodge some stuff. All right. I think the eyes need to be key to this portrait. So I'm going to come down here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the eyes. And I'm coming down to my paintbrush tool. Actually, sorry. Grabbing the dodge tool. I'm left bracketing out here. And I'm going to begin to dodge this. Now I'm just grabbing the eyes and I'm highlighting them just a little bit. Don't make them cartoony. Don't make them weird. That actually looks really good. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to come up with my dodge tool one more time. Get down here. And I'm going to bring that up just a little bit. All right. That looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and add in the high frequency again. And you'll see when we add it in. I'm actually quite happy with that. I think that I'm in pretty good shape there with that. You see how we knocked down all of this using the frequency separation? So if I'm burning and dodging globally, you see how I was using a very broad brush to do that? Now what I can do with my high frequency layer selected, I can do the same thing to kind of contour. So I'm going to come up here to my brush. I'm going to bring my brush up. Now, what layer am I on, folks? I'm down here on the high frequency layer. And I'm just going to come down here. And I'm going to click just a couple areas down here in the neck to kind of get that good differentiation on that shirt. Now, I've got my flow up way too far there for this. I'm going to drop this down about 6%. And you see I'm darkening just some areas down into here. And if you don't like it, Control Z, and it's gone. Because sometimes you don't know how far you can go until you've gone too far. All right, we're going to go ahead and darken up this area down there under that collar. All right, looks good. So I think for that, I'm actually in pretty good shape. The lights kind of turned out all right. All right, let's go ahead and call this one. Well, one more thing. Once you've got your frequency separation good, hold Shift, right-click them both, and now go to Merge Visible. All right, so you see we've just created a pixel there. I'm going to go ahead and delete that one out, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that one out. All right, now let's look at the original versus the new. See the adjustments that we made beginning to come through? I actually am quite happy with those. All right, let's go ahead and call it a day on this one.
All right, well, we hope you enjoyed this video on how to use frequency separation, the healing tools, and some of the dodge burn techniques in your work with Affinity Photos. So on behalf of Olivio and myself, thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in taking the free course that deals with this thing all the way from here to show you exactly how to do it, go ahead, click the link below. It's 100% free. And follow us on YouTube to make sure you never miss a tutorial. All right, on behalf of 7 Season Studios and Olivio, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.